Stan Lee has cameoed in almost every Marvel film to date. He has appeared in every Marvel Studios production, that is, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the shared universe of the Avengers, the Guardians, and everyone else. Because these movies and shows are connected, I believe the Stan we see in each of them could reasonably be the same person, finding his way into each of these superheroes' lives one way or another. In total, Stan Lee has made 14 appearances in person and 2 as a photograph. In this video, I will attempt to rationalize these appearances into a cohesive narrative. Let's start by putting Stan's appearances in chronological order. His first appearance would be in Captain America the First Avenger. Next he appears in Agent Carter, set 1 year after the war. We then jump to the modern times, starting with Iron Man 1, then 2, then The Incredible Hulk, followed by Thor, The Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor 2, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Captain America 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers 2, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and finally Ant-Man. Now clearly there are some anomalies here, such as Stan Lee appearing to be the same age in the 1940s and in the 2010s. Well, that's easily explainable. Stan Lee is the Watcher. Just kidding. I'll get to the 1940s cameos in a minute, but first I'll explain the modern day cameos. First up is Iron Man 1. We see Stan Lee is attending the same party Tony Stark is. He's clearly some kind of celebrity to be invited to this prestigious party, so we'll run with that.
The great Hefner.
Stark remarks, believing Stan Lee to be Hugh Hefner. He may not be Hefner, but he's clearly quite the ladies' man. About 6 months later in Iron Man 2, Stark comes across Stan Lee again, this time during a rushed meet and greet on his way out of the Stark Expo. Happy Hogan mistakenly introduces Stan Lee to Stark as Larry King this time.
Larry!
Poor guy, Stark will never recognise him. On to the Incredible Hulk now. We see Stan Lee is at his home in
Milwaukee
a few days after the expo. His fridge is full of the soda drinks made by the Brazilian company Bruce Banner is working for at the time. Unknown to Stan Lee and Bruce Banner is that the bottle Stan is about to drink from has traces of Banner's gamma-irradiated blood in it. Stan Lee's drank Bruce Banner's blood? Ugh. As a result of drinking from the bottle, Stan Lee gets minor gamma sickness. Hearing about this, his family send him a brand new pickup truck, his passion, as a get-well gift. No. During the events of Thor, about a month later, having recovered from the sickness, Stan Lee travels south to see his family in New Mexico to thank them. He drives his new pickup all the way there, and upon arrival is invited to come along with his family to a satellite crash site. Everyone there seems to be unable to pull a hammer-like object out of the crater, so Stan volunteers to use his truck as a way to pull it out.
Did it work?
No, it didn't, Stan. Unfortunately for Stan though, before he could get his truck repaired, Thor had a
grudge match that leveled a small town,
destroying his truck in the process. A year on, Stan has travelled to New York City. As he arrives, much to his dismay, he notices that Stark has built a brand new building with Stark written all the way across the front of it. Soon after, the city is invaded by aliens and Stan Lee is caught in the attack. But he survives, and is okay, but he's not happy. Mistaken twice by Iron Man, poisoned by the Hulk, and his new truck destroyed by Thor. When asked by the local news, how did Stan feel about the Avengers in New York?
Superheroes in New York? Give me a break.
Christmas 2012. Still a celebrity of some kind, Stan Lee has been invited to be a guest judge on the locally televised Miss Chattanooga beauty pageant. Being the ladies' man he is, throughout the event, Stan generously gives out 9s and 10s to all of the competitors. He later finds out, however, that midway through the broadcast, Tony Stark stole the broadcasting signal for himself. This truly bugs Stan, and it almost appears as if the superheroes are following him around, so he leaves the country and heads to London. In London, now far away from Tony and the other heroes, Stan decides to go out and enjoy himself with the locals one evening. Seeing an older man out on his own, clubbers decide to give him the night of his life. He has a great time, until he gets a bit too drunk and starts causing a ruckus. As a result, he's taken into police custody overnight. Whilst there, a clearly nuts man starts lecturing him on something called the convergence, and then proceeds to steal his shoe.
Any questions?
Yeah, can I have my shoe back?
Later that same week, Thor appears in the city and takes on alien invaders once again. These heroes just won't leave Stan alone. He decides to go even farther away and heads to mainland Europe. Taking a train across Italy, he manages to pick up 2 young women, and whilst moving through the train, comes across a bespectacled father and daughter having a heated argument.
No!
I'm terribly sorry about your loss, dear. As for you, now is your chance to do better. Why don't you see that you take it?
Thank you, sir.
Let's go.
The trips to get away from superheroes really eat into Stan's bank, and eventually he has to return home to the US. He sells his house in
Milwaukee
to get some money and moves in with a friend in Washington DC, getting a night job as a security guard at the Smithsonian. Just when things look to be going alright, a few months into his job, a very important exhibit goes missing.
I am so fired.
And he was. Steve Rogers later returned the stolen uniform to the Smithsonian, and Stan Lee was offered his job back, but he declined because he didn't enjoy it. We'll skip over Guardians of the Galaxy and come back to it in a minute. A year later, Stan receives an invite from Steve Rogers asking him to attend a party in the newly refurbished Avengers Tower, along with some other World War II veterans. Seeing it as an opportunity to finally speak his mind to Tony and Thor, Stan Lee goes to the party. He soon takes on the challenge of drinking a drink not meant for mortal men to show Thor who's boss.
Is not meant for mortal men.
Neither was Omaha Beach, Blondie. Stop trying to scare us. Come on.
All right.
Excelsior.
Feeling bad for allowing him to get so drunk and being responsible for getting Stan fired, Steve Rogers helps Stan find a new job as a bartender. There, at his new job, he is quizzed by a gentleman regarding the attractiveness of the woman he is with. Stan agrees with the man that she is indeed
crazy, stupid fine.
That's all the modern day cameos, so what about those 1940s ones? This is Stan Lee Sr., modern day Stan's father. We know from Age of Ultron that Stan Jr. is a war veteran. He'd be in his early 20s during World War II, so we can assume he's off fighting whilst his father, a highly decorated war veteran himself, is attending award ceremonies.
I thought he'd be taller.
In 1946, post-war, during Agent Carter, we can see Stan Sr. is in a more casual environment getting his shoe shined, unknowingly sat right next to billionaire playboy Howard Stark himself. A fan of sport, Stan Lee notices his paper is missing a key section, to which he politely asks Mr. Stark,
Hey, could I borrow the sports section? Thank you.
So we've connected most of the dots, but how does Stan end up with this picture in the police station? Why is he a celebrity, and how does he end up in space? After the war, Stan Jr. returns to his then home in New York and easily gets a job in the NYPD. At some point after 1946, Stan Sr. goes missing. Stan Jr., unable to find his father, dedicates his entire police career looking for clues about his father's disappearance to no success. Coming toward the end of his career, at an advanced age, Stan Jr. single-handedly foiled a robbery. The footage, caught on CCTV, of him detaining the thug and exclaiming "Excelsior" skyrocketed him into fame online, turning him into an internet sensation overnight. As a result, many NYPD stations hang a photo of Stan as a reminder that no cop is ever past his prime. This explains Stan's apparent fame, but also how he was able to get a job at the Smithsonian as a guard with his police background. So where did Stan Lee Sr. go? Well, he was abducted by Ravagers and sold on to a Xandarian who augmented him for longevity, then freed him. When we see him in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's doing what he does best: womanizing.
What a Class A prevert.
Right, thank you very much for watching this video. It wasn't intended to be entirely serious, so hopefully you kind of found it funny. And if you did enjoy it, please feel free to like and subscribe. It helps us out. I don't really like asking, but you know. And yeah, please feel free to check out these other videos that you see in front of you right now. And hopefully I'll see you again. Thank you very much. Cheers.